talked about it briefly. This young man who was suspended for having locks and braids. He has now been hit with an kicked out of school. Basically, he's been removed from his high school. His name is Daryl George. He's 18. Kicked out of his high school, sent to a disciplinary alternative education program today. He's a junior at something called Barbers Hill High School in Texas and Mount Bellevue, Texas. He was suspended. He's been suspended since August 31st. He will be sent to something called EPIC, which is an alternative school program from October 12th through the 29th of November for, quote, failure to comply with multiple campus and classroom regulations. This is all about his hair. The principal there, Lance Murphy, I'm going to give his name out. Lance Murphy said in a letter that Mr. Daryl George, had repeatedly violated the district's, quote unquote, previously communicated standards of student conduct. His behavior was fine. It was his hair you had a problem with. And I don't know how you have a problem teaching a child because of how their hair is. And people have shown yearbook pictures of other students that had no melanin whose hair did not comply either. Somehow they got to graduate. In this letter, it says that George will be allowed to return to regular classroom instruction on November 30th, but will not be allowed to return to his high school's campus until and unless there's a discussion about his conduct, which is his hair. So at Barber Hill Independent School District, they prohibit male students from having their hair extending below their eyebrows, earlobes, or top of their t-shirt collar, according to the student handbook. Additionally, hair on all students must be, quote unquote, clean, well-groomed, geometrical, and not an quote unquote unnatural color or variation. The school does not require uniforms, and George's mother, Dorisha George, and the family's attorney, they denied that his hairstyle violates it. It is intricate, his hair. It is braided. He has locks, and he has it above his collar. He has it above his ears. It is in a style that is basically piled up on his hair and pinned up so that it does comply. The family filed a formal complaint with the Texas Education Agency, and they also have filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against discrimination because we have a whole Crown Act, which passed September 1st right there in Texas. Crown Act, which shout out to Adwoa Asamoah and so many others. She lobbied and got this passed in so many states throughout our union. One woman I remember we were before the pandemic in Smith. This was wild. This was like 5 years before, might have been 3 years before the pandemic. Because we were in the studio upstairs, not in the big studio that they had for us to film in, but this was an upstairs studio. She brought in a legislator from New York. We have been talking about this for a while on the Karen Hunter Show. And CROWN stands for Create a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. That's what CROWN stands for. Intended to prohibit race-based discrimination. And here we have this child. All he wants to do is go to school. So if you have locks, twists, bantu knots, afros, braids, that all should be, and the afros, I don't know what they're going to do with them. You can have a really big afro that just reaches the sun. Is that also in violation? If we spent more time caring about the child and not worrying about, and I get it, you have to have rules. You have to have rules that these cretins adhere to. Unless they're just children that you want to educate, then yeah. I get it. But this is wild. They're sending him to an alternative high school for poor behaving students because he refuses to. What do you want him to shave his hair? And then I'm reminded of that wrestling. Remember that wrestling match with this young boy? And in order to allow him to continue to wrestle, they cut his locks. Do you remember this? It was painful to watch. And I know locks are very spiritual for a lot of people. Some is style, but even style is your hair. It grows, it's attached to your body. It's an extension of your body and it's an expression of yourself. And this child's hairstyle is not offensive at all. I've seen some offensive hairstyles. There's some people in the NBA with offensive hairstyles. I'm gonna say Jimmy Butler might. No, I'm just playing. I actually like Jimmy Butler's Jermaine Stewart nod. I like it. I actually like it. But there's some people that I call wearing, I used to call it homeless hair, but I'm not going to disparage people who are unhoused because it's not funny. But y'all know that hair that is not combed or washed or groomed, and these are millionaires wearing the hair, just letting it just be. But they have a right to look like that. That's their business. Wouldn't be my choice, but that's why I do what I do. I'm wrapping my hair because I don't. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. He wants to talk about the hair issue. Hey, Will.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
Blessings to you.
Thank you. Back at you.
Worked in education for a long time, from New York to Georgia. Now I'm up in Maryland. And what they're doing with that is they're trying to be discreet about it, but we know it's racist. We got so many other issues in the school system that we worrying about here. We worrying about here. We're not even teaching kids no more. You teach kids to a test. The young man sounds like he's doing what he has to do, but you're worrying about his hair. So what you trying to destroy him as an individual, or you just trying to destroy our community? Because it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's policing of bodies, right? It's as old as this country, and because this young man wouldn't comply, they're going to make him comply because he figured out, okay, my hair doesn't have to, can't touch my collar. I'm going to pin it up. No, that's not good enough. Now you have to take it off because we said so. It is so typical. And I don't even think they know. I mean, probably they know they're being racist. Probably they do know, but it is frustrating because you're right. There's so much more to deal with in our education system. I'm also looking at the fact that he's 18 and he's a junior in high school. So something else is going on there that I have questions, as well. Like, is the school system failing him? Why isn't he, out? Why isn't he a senior? Is this impeding his ability to actually learn and get out of high school from under your thumb? Like, there's so much more here, but that it's the line that they're drawing in the sand. They're actually saying something very loudly about what it is that they'll tolerate. And then it raises a question for all of the parents out there. Do we have options other than sending our children into harm's way? Because this is really sending your child into harm's way in the sense that that these people are being openly, aggressively in opposition to the way that your child is walking in this world. And it could be destroying so much of his self-esteem and so many other things. They're fighting, but at what cost? So I have questions about that too. Do we send our children into these spaces knowingly? And what's the alternative there? But Will, thank you for your service in the schools as a teacher.